The Deep Space Communication Array on Luna Station picked up something strange at 0300 hours. Lieutenant Amy Brooks was monitoring the night shift when her screens lit up with an incoming transmission from outside human space. She had been working communications for 5 years, but she had never seen anything like this. "Admiral Sullivan to the communications bay," she called over the intercom. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she tried to decode the signal. Admiral Jake Sullivan arrived within minutes, still pulling on his uniform jacket. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. "What do we have, Brooks?" "Sir, it's coming from the Kepler 442 system. The signal is alien, but it's using our mathematical constants. Someone taught them how to talk to us." Amy pulled up the translation on her main screen. The message was simple but desperate. It came from something called the Volani Republic. They were under attack by an enemy called the Krex Dominion. Their fleets were destroyed, their colonies were falling. They needed help, and they were asking humanity to save them. Jake read the message twice. In his 30 years of military service, no alien species had ever asked humans for help. Most aliens thought humans were too violent, too unpredictable. The Galactic Council had made it clear that humanity was not welcome in their affairs. "How many ships are in our local defense fleet?" Jake asked. 12 patrol cruisers and 3 destroyers, sir. The 7th Fleet is on exercises near Jupiter." Jake nodded. "Get me President Webb on the secure line. And Amy, keep this quiet for now." 2 hours later, Jake sat in the emergency briefing room at Terran Command. President Caroline Webb appeared on the main screen from Washington. Her face was serious as she reviewed the alien message. "Admiral, what do we know about these Volani?" she asked. "Not much, Madam President. Our deep space scouts have observed them for 3 years. They seem peaceful. They trade with other species and avoid conflicts. They have never bothered us or anyone else." General Kevin Hayes, the head of Terran Ground Forces, leaned forward. "And the Krex?" Jake pulled up intelligence files on his tablet. "The Krex are different. They believe in something they call survival of the strongest. They have destroyed 17 civilizations in the past century. They take what they want and kill anyone who resists." Dr. Helen Ross, the chief alien expert, spoke from her laboratory on Mars. "The Krex follow a simple rule. They attack species that seem weak and avoid species that seem strong. They have never attacked us because they don't know how strong we really are." President Webb was quiet for a moment. "Jake, if we help the Volani, we show the galaxy our real military power. Are we ready for that?" Jake thought about the ships hidden in asteroid bases and the weapons that no alien had ever seen. Humanity had been preparing for war since first contact 20 years ago. They had learned from human history that peace only lasted when you could defend it. "Madam President, we have 2 choices. We can ignore this message and let the Krex destroy the Volani, or we can show the galaxy that humanity protects those who cannot protect themselves." The President looked at the faces on her screen. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to keeping Earth safe. "What are you thinking, Admiral?" "I think we send a message to the Volani, tell them help is coming. Then we send the 7th Fleet to Kepler 442 and end this Krex problem permanently." Captain Lisa Martinez of the UHS Retribution had been listening to the discussion from her ship near Europa. She was one of the youngest captains in the fleet, but she had proven herself in 3 border conflicts with pirates. "Admiral Sullivan, with your permission," she said. "My ship has been monitoring Krex communications for the past 6 months. They are not just attacking the Volani. They are planning something bigger." Jake nodded for her to continue. "Sir, the Krex see the Volani territory as a stepping stone. Once they control those systems, they will have a direct route to human space. They plan to attack us next." The room was silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Krex were coming for humanity whether they helped the Volani or not. The only question was whether they would face the Krex alone or with allies. "President," Webb made her decision. "Admiral Sullivan, you have authorization to deploy the 7th Fleet. Your mission is to protect the Volani Republic and eliminate the Krex threat to human space." Jake stood and saluted. "Yes, Madam President, we will not let you down." After the connection ended, Jake turned to his staff. Contact Admiral Ryan Carter aboard the UHS Devastator. Tell him to prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate deployment. Full combat loadout. Amy Brooks was still monitoring communications when another message came from the Volani system. This one was different. It was a Krex battle report, sent in. The clear because they wanted everyone to hear it. The Krex had just destroyed the last Volani defense station. Civilian evacuation ships were being hunted down and destroyed. The Krex commander was laughing as he described how easy it was to kill Volani families trying to escape. Jake read the message and felt something cold settle in his stomach. He had seen war before, but this was different. This was not war. This was murder. Amy, send a message to the Volani Republic. Tell them that humanity has received their request for assistance. Tell them that help is coming, and they should hold on for 72 more hours. Yes, sir. What should I tell them about? Our fleet size? Jake smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. Tell them we are sending everything we have. Amy sent the message and waited for a reply. When it came, it was short, but grateful. The Volani thanked humanity for responding. They said they would try to hold out until help arrived. What the Volani did not know was that everything we have was much more than anyone in the galaxy suspected. The patrol ships that aliens had seen around Earth were just the beginning. Humanity had been building for war since they first learned they were not alone in the universe. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do when someone threatened the innocent. The emergency meeting in the White House Situation Room lasted 4 hours. President Caroline Webb sat at the head of the table, surrounded by the most important military and civilian leaders on Earth. The weight of the decision ahead of them could change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Fleet Admiral Ryan Carter had arrived from his flagship just 2 hours earlier. He was a big man with steady hands and eyes that missed nothing. Next to him sat General Kevin Hayes, who commanded all of humanity's ground forces. Dr. Helen Ross joined them by video link from her research station on Mars. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, President Webb said, looking at the intelligence reports spread across the table. The Krex Dominion has destroyed 17 civilizations in the past century. They are currently attacking the Volani Republic, and after that they plan to attack us. Admiral Carter nodded. That's correct, Madam President. Our intelligence shows that the Krex see Volani space as the perfect staging area for an assault on human territory. They will attack us whether we help the Volani or not. Defense Secretary Robert Kim leaned forward. But if we reveal our true military capabilities, every species in the galaxy will know how strong we really are. That could make us a target for everyone. Dr. Ross spoke from her screen. With respect, Mr. Secretary, we are already a target. The Krex have been planning this attack for months. Our choice is simple. Fight them now while we have allies, or fight them later when we are alone. General Hayes pulled up a holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers showed Krex territory, which had grown larger every year. Blue markers showed human space, still small compared to other powers. The Volani Republic was marked in green, sitting right between the two. The Volani territory controls the main hyperspace routes between Krex and human space, Hayes explained. If the Krex take those systems, they can move their entire fleet to our borders in less than a week. If we help the Volani hold those systems, we buy ourselves time and gain an ally. President Webb studied the map. She had been in politics for 20 years, but military strategy was not her strong point. She relied on her advisors to explain the options. Admiral Carter, what would it take to save the Volani? Carter touched his tablet and new information appeared on the main screen. We would need to deploy the 7th Fleet. That's 36 warships, including our newest carriers and battleships. The fleet is currently on training exercises near Jupiter, so they could reach Volani space in 72 hours. And what are our chances of success? Against the Krex forces currently in Volani space? We would win easily. The problem is what comes after. Once we show our hand, the Krex will send their main fleet. That's when things get difficult. Secretary Kim looked worried. How difficult? Carter was quiet for a moment. Madam President, I need to share some classified information with the room. What I am about to tell you is known only to the highest levels of military command. President Webb nodded. Go ahead, Admiral. The ships that aliens have seen around Earth are not our main fleet. They are patrol vessels designed to look like our primary military force. Our real fleet is much larger and much more advanced than anyone suspects. The room was silent. Even some of the people at the table had not known this. Carter continued. We have been building ships in secret for 15 years. Hidden bases in asteroid fields, construction facilities on the dark side of moons, research stations that officially don't exist. The patrol ships around Earth carry weapons from 10 years ago. Our newest ships carry weapons that are 20 years ahead of anything the Kreks have, Dr. Ross added to the explanation. We learned from human history that the best way to avoid war is to be ready for it. Every human conflict taught us that superior technology and tactics win battles. We applied those lessons to space warfare. President Webb felt a mix of relief and concern. Why wasn't I told about this earlier? Because it was safer that way, Admiral Carter said simply. If our enemies don't know how strong we are, they make plans based on what they think they know. That gives us an advantage. General Hayes brought up another display. We also have advantages that no alien species possesses. Human pilots can handle G-forces that would kill most aliens. Our soldiers can operate in environments that other species find impossible. Our ships are built to fight in conditions that aliens would consider suicide. What kind of conditions? Secretary Kim asked. Stellar radiation fields, gas giant atmospheres, even the outer layers of stars. We can fight in places where alien ships cannot even survive. President Webb was beginning to understand the scope of what her military leaders had built. How many ships are we really talking about? Admiral Carter smiled for the first time in the meeting. Including the secret shipyards and hidden fleets, we have over 400 ships of the line. Most of them are smaller than what aliens consider battleships, but they are faster, tougher, and carry more advanced weapons. The president sat back in her chair. And you believe this fleet can defeat the Kreks? Madam President, I believe this fleet can defeat any enemy in the galaxy. The question is whether we want the galaxy to know that. Dr. Ross spoke up again. There is another factor to consider. The Volani are not the only species being threatened by the Kreks. If we save them, other species will start asking for our help. Are we ready to become the galaxy's protectors? It was a good question. President Webb had always believed that humanity should be a force for good in the galaxy, but she had never imagined they would be strong enough to protect other species. What does the intelligence say about other alien reactions? She asked. Most species fear the Kreks but are too weak to fight them, Hayes explained. If we defeat the Kreks, those species will see us as liberators. The stronger species, like the Galactic Council members, will see us as a new threat to their power. But they are not strong enough to stop us? No, Madam President. Based on our intelligence, no single alien government has military forces that could challenge our fleet. Even working together, they would struggle to match our capabilities. President Webb stood and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of Washington, D.C. Millions of people were going about their normal lives, not knowing that their president was about to make a decision that would change everything. Admiral Carter, if I give you permission to deploy the 7th Fleet, what are your orders? Proceed to Volani space. Eliminate Kreks forces threatening civilian populations. Establish defensive positions to prevent further Kreks advancement. And send a clear message that humanity will not tolerate the destruction of innocent civilizations. President Webb turned back to the room. And if the Kreks send reinforcements? Carter's expression hardened. Then we send reinforcements of our own. And we keep sending them until the Kreks understand that attacking innocent people will cost them everything. The president made her decision. Admiral Carter, you have authorization to deploy the 7th Fleet to Volani space. Your mission is to protect the Volani Republic and eliminate the Kreks threat. Use whatever force is necessary to accomplish that mission. Admiral Carter stood and saluted. Yes, Madam President, we will not fail. As the meeting broke up, President Webb realized that she had just committed humanity to become something new in the galaxy. No longer would they be the isolated newcomers that everyone ignored. They were about to become the species that other Civilizations would either fear or turn to for protection. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human responsibility was about to begin. The hidden military base inside the asteroid series came alive with activity. For 15 years, this facility had been humanity's most closely guarded secret. Now, ships that had never seen the light of Earth's sun were preparing for their first real battle. Commander Tony Blake watched as loading crews moved quantum torpedoes into the weapons bays of the UHS Devastator. Each torpedo was the size of a small shuttle and contained enough destructive power to crack a moon. The Devastator alone carried 200 of these weapons, more firepower than most alien species possessed in their entire fleets. "Commander Blake, how long until we finish loading?" Admiral Ryan Carter's voice came over the communication system. 30 minutes, sir. The crews are moving as fast as they can safely handle these weapons." Carter nodded from the bridge of his flagship. Around him, the 7th Fleet was preparing for departure. But this was not the 7th Fleet that aliens had seen in intelligence reports. This was the real 7th Fleet, equipped with humanity's most advanced technology. Chief Engineer Maria Santos worked in the engine room of the UHS Defender, making final adjustments to the new shield phasing system. This technology allowed human ships to become temporarily intangible, passing through solid matter like ghosts. It was based on principles that human scientists had discovered in quantum mechanics research. "Maria, are you sure this system will work in combat?" Captain Steve Johnson asked as he watched her work. "Captain, we have tested it in every possible scenario. The ship can phase through solid matter for up to 30 seconds at a time. Enemy weapons will pass right through us without causing damage." Steve shook his head in amazement. Even after 3 years of working with this technology, it still seemed like magic to him. "How many alien species know we can do this?" "None, sir. As far as the galaxy knows, this technology is impossible." In the fighter bay of the UHS Retribution, Captain Lisa Martinez briefed her pilots on their new spacecraft. The F-47 Phantom fighters looked like nothing any alien had ever seen. They were small, fast, and designed to take advantage of humanity's unique physiology. "Listen up, pilots," Lisa said to the assembled group. "These fighters can pull 15 Gs in combat maneuvers. Most alien species would be killed by anything over 4 Gs. That means we can fly circles around anything they put in space." Lieutenant Danny Garcia raised his hand. "Captain, what about their weapons?" "Good question. Our fighters carry miniaturized plasma cannons and micro-torpedo launchers. Each fighter has enough firepower to destroy ships 10 times its size. More importantly, our targeting computers are linked to the pilot's neural interfaces. You think about shooting something, and it gets shot." The pilots looked at each other with excitement. They had trained for years with simulation equipment, but this would be their first chance to use their skills in real combat. Meanwhile, in the observation deck of the command station, Volani Ambassador Zethka watched the human preparations with growing amazement. The Volani government had sent him to learn about human military capabilities, but what he was seeing was beyond anything his people had imagined. "Ambassador Carter," he said to Admiral Carter through his translator device, "how many ships do you have in this fleet?" Carter smiled. 36 ships of the line, Ambassador, plus support vessels, fighters, and landing craft." "And this is your largest fleet?" "This is one of our fleets, Ambassador. We have others." Zethka's translator struggled with the concept. In Volani military thinking, a fleet was everything a civilization could put in space at one time. The idea that humans had multiple fleets of this size was difficult to understand. "May I ask how many fleets humanity possesses?" Carter considered his answer carefully. "We have 12 active fleets, Ambassador, plus reserve forces and system defense squadrons." The Volani ambassador felt his breathing apparatus flutter. His people had thought the humans were a small, weak species with only a few dozen ships. If Carter was telling the truth, humanity had more military power than most of the major galactic civilizations. "Admiral Carter, why has your species hidden this strength from the galaxy?" "Because hidden strength is more useful than visible strength, Ambassador. When your enemies don't know how powerful you are, they make mistakes based on bad information." Dr. Helen Ross arrived at the command station to brief the fleet commanders on Krek's technology and tactics. She had spent 5 years studying every piece of information about the Kreks that human intelligence could gather. The Kreks rely on overwhelming force and intimidation, she explained to the assembled captains. They build large, heavily armed ships that can destroy most opponents in direct combat. Their tactics are simple: close to short range and pound the enemy into dust. Captain Nick Davis of the UHS Thunderbolt raised his hand. Doctor, what are their weaknesses? Their ships are big and slow. They have trouble hitting fast-moving targets. More importantly, they have never fought an enemy that uses tactics more advanced than charge straight ahead and shoot everything. Captain Ashley Turner of the UHS Spectre asked the next question. What about their defenses? Standard deflector shields and armor plating. Nothing that our weapons can't handle. The real problem is their numbers. Intelligence reports suggest they have over 200 ships in Volani space. Admiral Carter nodded. That's why we're bringing special equipment for this mission. He activated a holographic display that showed a device none of the captains had seen before. It looked like a metal sphere covered in complex geometric patterns. This is a quantum disruption mine, Carter explained. When activated, it creates a field that interferes with the quantum mechanics that make faster-than-light travel possible. Any ship caught in the field is trapped in normal space until the mine burns out. Captain Lisa Martinez studied the device. How long do the mines last? 6 hours each. We're carrying 50 of them. The implications were clear. If the human fleet could trap the Krek ships in normal space, they could fight them a few at a time instead of facing the entire enemy fleet at once. Commander Tony Blake finished loading the quantum torpedoes and reported to Admiral Carter. Sir, all ships report ready for departure. Weapons loaded, systems checked, crews at battle stations. Carter looked around the command center at his officers and the Volani ambassador. These people were about to witness something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. All ships, this is Admiral Carter. Prepare for hyperspace jump. To the Volani system. Remember, we are not just fighting for humanity today. We are fighting for the principle that strong civilizations should protect weak ones, not destroy them. The fleet activated their hyperspace drives and disappeared from normal space. Behind them, the hidden bases began producing more ships and weapons. If this battle went well, humanity would need a much larger fleet for what came next. Ambassador Zethka watched the stars change outside the viewports as the human fleet traveled faster than light toward his homeworld. For the first time in months, he began to hope that his people might survive. The Kreks had no idea what was coming for them. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Thyros 3 system and immediately went to silent running. All non-essential systems shut down, making the ships nearly invisible to long-range sensors. Admiral Carter wanted to see what they were facing before announcing their presence. Commander Ashley Turner commanded the reconnaissance mission from her stealth ship, the UHS Spectre. Her vessel was designed specifically for intelligence gathering, with advanced sensors and a hull coating that absorbed most forms of detection radiation. Admiral, we have visual contact with the Krek's fleet, Ashley reported through encrypted communications. Counting 230 enemy vessels in orbit around Thyros 3. They appear to be conducting bombardment operations against the planet's surface. Carter studied the tactical display on his command screen. The Krek ships were arranged in a loose formation around the planet, with the largest vessels positioned to rain destruction on population centers below. What about Volani ships? He asked. I'm detecting debris fields consistent with destroyed Volani vessels. It looks like their defense fleet was completely eliminated. Sir, I'm also detecting something else. The Kreks are using civilian ships as shields. Carter felt his jaw tighten. Through his binoculars, he could see Krek's warships with Volani civilian vessels physically attached to their hulls. Families trying to evacuate the planet were being used as human shields to protect the attacking force. How many civilian ships are attached to enemy vessels? 67 that I can count, sir. Passenger liners, cargo haulers, even small personal craft. The Kreks have welded them to their hull plating. Lieutenant Amy Brooks monitored communications from her position on the flagship. She was picking up transmissions between Krek's commanders as they coordinated their attack on the planet below. "Admiral, I'm intercepting Krek's battle communications. They're laughing about using the civilians as protection. They think it makes them immune to counterattack." Carter looked at Captain Nick Davis, who commanded the UHS Thunderbolt. "Nick, how precisely can our weapons target?" "Sir, our quantum torpedoes can hit a target the size of a dinner plate from 50,000 kilometers away. Our pulse cannons are even more accurate." "Good. Signal all ships to prepare for Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was one of humanity's most complex tactical maneuvers. It required perfect coordination between every ship in the fleet and weapons accuracy that most species considered impossible. The goal was to disable enemy vessels while causing zero damage to anything the enemy was using as a shield. Captain Lisa Martinez received her orders aboard the UHS Retribution. Her ship would lead the fighter attack while the larger vessels provided precise fire support. She had trained for this scenario dozens of times, but never with real lives hanging in the balance. "All fighters, launch immediately," she ordered. "Remember, those civilian ships contain families with children. One mistake from us means they die." The F-47 Phantom fighters launched from their carriers like angry wasps. Each pilot was connected to their ship's targeting computer through neural interface technology that allowed them to think their weapons onto target. Lieutenant Danny Garcia flew his fighter in a wide arc around the Krek's formation, studying the enemy ships through his targeting system. The Krek's vessels were large and heavily armed, but they moved like slugs compared to human craft. "I have a lock on the primary weapon systems of the lead Krek's battleship," he reported. "Civilian ship is attached to the port side, clear of the target zone." "Confirmed, Garcia. Take the shot." Danny's micro-torpedo launched with surgical precision, striking the Krek's battleship's main gun turret and disabling it without harming. The civilian vessel welded to the nearby hull. Around the battlefield, 40 other human fighters were conducting similar attacks. Admiral Carter watched as his fleet demonstrated capabilities that no alien had ever seen. Human weapons struck Krek's ships with impossible accuracy, disabling weapons and engines while leaving the civilian shields completely untouched. The Krek's fleet commander, War Master Grix Thule, sat in his command center watching his ships lose their weapons one by one. His tactical officers were reporting hits so precise that they seemed planned years in advance. "What species of cowards attacks from such range?" he demanded. "Order all ships to pursue the enemy fighters and destroy them." The Krek's vessels began moving toward the human fighters, but they quickly discovered that human craft could accelerate and maneuver in ways that physics said should be impossible. The F-47 Phantoms pulled 15 G-turns that would have killed any alien pilot, staying just ahead of Krek's weapons while continuing their precise attacks. Captain Steve Johnson watched from the UHS Defender as Krek's ships tried desperately to catch his fighters. "Admiral, enemy vessels are pursuing our fighters and moving away from the civilian shields." "Perfect. All ships, implement separation protocol." The human fleet had been waiting for this moment. As soon as the Krek's ships moved away from their civilian shields, the full power of human military technology was unleashed. Quantum torpedoes streaked across space like miniature suns, each one programmed to target specific systems on specific ships. The Krek's discovered that their shields, which had protected them against other alien weapons, were useless against human quantum technology. The UHS Devastator fired a full spread of 20 torpedoes at the Krek's command ship. Each torpedo hit a different target: weapons systems, engines, communication arrays, and life support systems. Within seconds, the massive Krek's battleship was helpless, but intact. Commander Tony Blake coordinated the weapons fire from his position on the Devastator. "Admiral, we have successfully disabled 80% of the enemy fleet. Remaining ships are attempting to flee." "Let them go," Carter ordered. "Our priority is rescuing those civilians." Human boarding parties launched from their ships toward the disabled Krek's vessels. These Marines wore powered armor that allowed them to operate in space without traditional spacecraft. They moved through the vacuum like flying tanks, cutting through Krek's hull plating to reach the trapped civilian ships. Captain Elena Rodriguez led one of the boarding teams. Her Marines had trained for exactly this situation, rescuing hostages from hostile alien vessels while avoiding unnecessary casualties. Remember, the Kreks are defeated but not dead, she told her team as they cut through the enemy hull. We want prisoners for intelligence purposes. Stun them, don't kill them unless they threaten the civilians. The Kreks crew of the captured battleship had never seen anything like human boarding tactics. Elena's Marines moved through their ship like ghosts, appearing in rooms without warning and disabling Kreks warriors before they could react. Within an hour, all 67 civilian ships had been freed from their Kreks captors. The human fleet had captured 40 Kreks vessels and taken over 3,000 prisoners. Not a single civilian had been harmed in the rescue operation. War Master Grix Thule found himself in the uncomfortable position of being a prisoner aboard a human ship. He was brought before Admiral Carter for interrogation, and what he saw confused him completely. "You are the commander of the attacking force?" he asked through a translation device. "I am Admiral Carter of the Terran Defense Network. You are War Master Grix Thule of the Kreks Dominion, and you are now my prisoner. What species are you? Your ships fight like nothing I have ever seen." Carter smiled coldly. "We are humans, and we have come to end your war against the Villani." "Impossible. Humans are a weak species with only a few patrol ships. Our intelligence reports show your military power is insignificant. Your intelligence is about to be updated, War Master. This fleet represents less than 10% of human military capability. If the Kreks Dominion continues to attack innocent civilizations, you will learn what our full strength looks like." Grix Thule felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. In 300 years of conquest, the Kreks had never met a species that could defeat them so easily while showing mercy to their enemies. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "We want you to stop killing innocent people. We want you to withdraw from Villani space. And we want you to understand that humanity will not tolerate the destruction of peaceful civilizations." Admiral Carter looked at the defeated Kreks commander and felt a mix of satisfaction and concern. This battle had been easy, but he knew it was only the beginning. When news of this defeat reached the Kreks homeworlds, they would send everything they had. Humanity had just announced to the galaxy that they were no longer hiding in the shadows. Now they would have to prove they were strong enough to survive in the light. 3 days after the rescue at Thyros 3, the human fleet faced its first major test. Kreks reinforcements had arrived in the system. A battle group of 80 ships, led by Battle Commander Thak Mor, one of the Dominion's most experienced warriors. General Malven, the Villani defense coordinator, watched from his command bunker on Thyros 3 as the new Kreks fleet took position near the outer planets. For months, his forces had been unable to stop even small Kreks raids. Now he was about to see if the humans could handle a real battle. "General Malven, this is Admiral Carter," came the transmission from the human flagship. "We're reading 80 Kreks vessels entering the system. My tactical officer suggests you evacuate your command staff to a safer location." Malven activated his communication system. "Admiral, with respect, I have been fighting the Kreks for 6 months. I want to see how you humans conduct warfare." Carter's voice carried a note of approval. "Understood, General. You might want to record this for your military academy." The Kreks fleet moved in the traditional Dominion formation. A massive wedge designed to concentrate firepower at a single point and break through enemy lines by sheer force. Battle Commander Thak Mor had used this tactic to destroy dozens of enemy fleets over his long career. "Human Commander," Thak Mor broadcast on all frequencies. "I am Battle Commander Thak Mor of the 2nd Kreks Battle Fleet. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Admiral Carter's response was calm and professional. "Battle Commander, this is Admiral Carter. You are ordered to withdraw from Villani space immediately. This is your only warning." Thak Mor laughed, a sound that the translation system turned into harsh static. "Your tiny fleet defeated War Master Grix Thule through trickery and cowardice. You will not trick me. We'll see about that." The human fleet split into 4 groups, each moving in a different direction around the Kreks formation. This was not standard military tactics by any alien definition. Most species concentrated their forces and attacked head-on. Colonel Jack Thompson commanded the ground forces aboard the UHS Retribution. His job was to coordinate with Volani resistance fighters on the planet's surface while the space battle raged. Above. Thompson to all Volani resistance units, he broadcast on encrypted frequencies. Human fleet is engaging the Krex in orbit. We need you to target Krex ground installations during the battle. The response came from dozens of Volani fighters who had been hiding in the mountains and forests. For months they had been too weak to fight effectively, but with human support, they could strike back. Captain Lisa Wong led the first attack group in her fighter squadron. Her 24 F-47 Phantoms approached the Krex fleet from below, using the planet's gravity well to mask their approach. All fighters, remember the briefing, she said to her pilots. Krex ships have heavy forward armor but weak spots near their engine sections. Hit them fast, hit them hard, then get out before they can respond. The Phantom fighters accelerated to attack speed, pulling G-forces that would have killed most alien pilots. They appeared on Krex sensors like meteors, too fast for the enemy. Targeting systems to track effectively. Lieutenant Paul Anderson led Blue Squadron in a diving attack on the Krex flagship. His fighters moved in perfect formation, each pilot linked to the others through neural interface technology that allowed them to coordinate like a single organism. Blue Squadron, target the command ship's communication array, Paul ordered. Cut off their ability to coordinate with the rest of the fleet. 24 micro-torpedoes struck the Krex flagship in a pattern so precise it looked like art. The ship's communication systems failed instantly, leaving Thakmor unable to give orders to his other vessels. Meanwhile, Captain Nick Davis led the UHS Thunderbolt in a flanking maneuver around the Krex left wing. His ship was equipped with the new quantum disruptor cannons, weapons that could phase through shields and armor to strike directly at a ship's internal systems. Thunderbolt to fleet, Nick reported. We have clear shots at 6 enemy vessels, engaging with quantum disruptors. The Krex ships discovered that their shields were useless against weapons that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Ship after ship lost power as quantum disruptors struck their reactor cores with surgical precision. Battle Commander Thakmor watched his fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy that fought like no species he had ever encountered. Though humans didn't try to overpower his ships. They simply made his ships stop working. All vessels concentrate fire on the human flagship, he ordered through backup communications. Destroy their command ship, and the rest will flee. 40 Krex. Battleships turned their weapons toward the UHS Devastator. Thousands of plasma bolts and torpedo warheads streaked toward Admiral Carter's ship in a display of firepower that should have vaporized any vessel in space. But the Devastator simply wasn't there when the weapons arrived. Chief Engineer Maria Santos had activated the ship's phase shift system at the exact moment the Krex weapons fired. The Devastator became temporarily intangible, existing in normal space but immune to physical interaction. The Krex weapons passed through the human flagship like it was made of smoke. A few seconds later, the Devastator returned to normal space, completely undamaged and ready to fight. Maria, that was beautiful timing, Admiral Carter said over the ship's intercom. Thank you, sir. We can do that trick 4 more times before the system needs to recharge. The demonstration of phase shift technology broke the morale of the Krex fleet. In 300 years of conquest, they had never seen ships that could simply choose not to be hit by weapons fire. Captain Elena Rodriguez led a boarding party attack on 3 disabled Krex vessels. Her Marines used personal phase shift equipment to walk through enemy hull plating and appear directly inside Krex ships. Rodriguez to Admiral Carter, she reported 20 minutes later. We have secured 3 enemy vessels and captured their crews. The Krex surrender the moment they see us appear inside their ships. I think we've broken their will to fight. The space battle lasted only 2 hours. When it ended, 60 of the 80 Krex ships had been captured or disabled. The remaining 20 vessels fled toward the edge of the system, broadcasting desperate messages to Krex High Command. General Malven watched the battle from his command bunker with growing amazement. His tactical computers had recorded everything: human ships that could phase through solid matter, fighters that moved faster than physics should allow, and weapons that ignored every known form of defense. Admiral Carter, he said over the communication link, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. General, the debt is ours. Your people asked for help when they needed it most. That took courage. On the planet's surface, Colonel Thompson coordinated with Volani resistance fighters to capture the remaining Krex ground installations. The enemy soldiers surrendered without a fight when they learned their fleet had been defeated. Major Chris Lee led the assault on the main Krex command post, a fortress that had resisted Volani attacks for months. His Marines simply walked through the walls using phase shift technology and appeared in the command center before the Krex knew they were under attack. "This is Major Lee to all Krex forces on Thyros 3, he broadcast. "Your fleet is destroyed and your commanders are prisoners. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting and face the consequences." Krex garrison surrendered within an hour. Battle Commander Thakmor found himself in the same position as War Master Grix Thule, a prisoner aboard a human ship, trying to understand how his superior force had been defeated so easily. "Your ships violated the laws of physics," he told Admiral Carter during his interrogation. "Matter cannot become intangible. Fighters cannot move that fast. Weapons cannot ignore shields." Carter smiled. "Commander, you've spent your career fighting species that use the same technology your ancestors did. Humans don't follow the same rules. We adapt, we improve. We find new ways to solve old problems. What will you do with us?" "That depends on what your government does next. If the Krex Dominion withdraws from Volani space and agrees to leave peaceful species alone, you and your crews will be returned home safely. If the Dominion sends more fleets to continue this war, you'll remain our prisoners until the war ends." Thakmor considered this. In Krex culture, prisoners were either executed or enslaved. The concept of being returned home safely was difficult to understand. "Why do you not simply kill us? We are your enemies." "Because we're not the Krex. We don't kill people just because we can." Admiral Carter looked at the defeated Krex commander and realized that this conversation was being recorded for transmission back to Krex space. Every word would be analyzed by Dominion leaders trying to understand their new enemy. "Commander, I want you to deliver a message to your superiors. Tell them that humanity offers the Krex Dominion a choice. Stop attacking innocent civilizations, and we can coexist peacefully. Continue your wars of conquest and learn what happens when you fight a species that's actually prepared for war." The message was clear. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of their capabilities, and they had still defeated the Krex easily. The Dominion would have to decide whether they wanted to test the full extent of human military power. The news of 2 crushing defeats spread through Krex space like wildfire. Within a week, Supreme War Leader Vaktul Zhaoji le zhengge kelekesi tongzhi yihui. The humans had humiliated the Dominion twice, and now they threatened everything the Krex believed about their superiority in the galaxy. "These humans have made fools of our greatest commanders," Vakthul declared to the assembled war leaders. "No species has ever defeated Krex forces so easily. We must crush them before other civilizations begin to think we are weak." War leader Jex Maul stood to address the council. "Supreme Leader, perhaps we should negotiate with these humans. They seem willing to make peace if we withdraw from Volani space." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. The suggestion of negotiating with an enemy was considered cowardice by Krex standards. "We do not negotiate with inferior species," Vakthul declared. "We will send the Second Imperial Fleet to Volani space. 200 of our finest ships with our most experienced crews. We will show these humans what happens when they interfere with Krex expansion." Meanwhile, in Volani space, Admiral Carter received intelligence reports about the massive Krex fleet heading their way. The enemy was bringing everything they had in the local sector: dreadnoughts, carriers, and their most feared weapon. "Admiral, Krex intelligence has confirmed deployment of viral bombardment platforms," Dr. Helen Ross reported from her analysis of intercepted communications. "These are weapons designed to sterilize entire planets." Carter studied the tactical information on his command display. The viral platforms were basically flying plague factories, capable of creating biological weapons that could kill every living thing on a planet within days. "How many platforms are they bringing?" 12 confirmed, possibly more. "Each platform can produce enough viral agents to kill billions of people." The implications were clear. The Krex were no longer interested in conquest or occupation. They wanted to commit genocide against the Volani and make an example that would terrify other species into submission. Signal Terran Command, Carter ordered. Request immediate deployment of the 3rd and 5th Fleets. We're going to need everything we can get. Captain Elena Rodriguez received new orders to prepare her Marines for the most dangerous mission of their careers. The viral platforms would be heavily defended, and they would have to be captured intact to prevent the weapons from being deployed. Listen up, Marines, she told her assembled troops. The Kreks are bringing biological weapons that can kill entire planets. Our job is to capture those platforms before they can be used. This is not about tactics or strategy. This is about saving billions of innocent lives. Sergeant Mike Turner raised his hand. Captain, what happens if we can't capture the platforms intact? Then we destroy them, even if it means sacrificing ourselves. Some things are more important than our own survival. The human reinforcements arrived just as Krek's long-range scouts entered the Thyro system. Admiral Carter now commanded over 90 ships, the largest human fleet ever assembled in one location. Captain Steve Johnson reviewed the battle plans with his fellow commanders. The humans would face a Krek's fleet more than twice their size, equipped with weapons specifically designed to kill entire civilizations. The enemy will try to use their viral platforms as soon as they arrive, he explained to the tactical briefing. We have maybe 30 minutes from the time they drop out of hyperspace until those weapons become active. Lieutenant Colonel Danny Garcia would lead the fighter assault on the viral platforms. His squadrons had been equipped with special boarding pods designed to breach enemy hulls and deploy Marine teams directly inside target ships. Each platform has approximately 300 Krek's crew members, he told his pilots. Our Marines need to control those ships within 15 minutes, or the automated systems will deploy the biological weapons. The Krek's 2nd Imperial Fleet arrived in a formation that filled space for thousands of kilometers. 200 massive warships, each one larger than anything in the human fleet. At the center of the formation were the 12 viral platforms, protected by overlapping shields and defensive batteries. Supreme Admiral Tokvesh commanded the Krek's fleet from his flagship, the Annihilator. He was the most decorated military commander in Dominion history, with over 50 conquered civilizations to his credit. Human vessels. This is Supreme Admiral Tokvesh of the Krek's Imperial Navy, he broadcast. You will surrender immediately, or witness the destruction of every living thing in this system. Admiral Carter's response was brief. Admiral, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. Any attempt to deploy biological weapons will be met with total destruction of your fleet. Tokvesh laughed. Your 90 ships against my 200? Humans are brave but foolish. Activate the viral platforms, begin planetary bombardment in 30 minutes. Carter turned to his communications officer. Amy, signal all ships. Execute Operation Cleansing Fire. Operation Cleansing Fire was humanity's most complex military plan, designed specifically to counter weapons of mass destruction. Every ship in the fleet had a specific role to play, and timing would be critical. The human fleet split into 6 attack groups, each targeting a different section of the Krek's formation. But instead of attacking the warships, they focused entirely on the viral platforms. Captain Lisa Wong led Red Squadron in a direct assault on the nearest platform. Her fighters used their superior speed to penetrate the Krek's defensive screen before the enemy could react effectively. Red Squadron, deploy boarding pods on my mark, she ordered as her fighters raced toward their target. We have one chance to get our Marines aboard before they activate the biological weapons. 12 boarding pods launched from Lisa's fighters, each containing a squad of Marines in full combat armor. The pods were equipped with quantum drill systems that could cut through any known material. Major Chris Lee commanded the assault team heading for Platform 7. His pod struck the Krek's ship's hull and immediately began cutting through the outer armor. Within seconds, his Marines were inside the enemy vessel. Lee, to all assault teams, he reported over the tactical network. We're inside Platform 7, heavy resistance from Krek security forces, pushing toward the control center. The Krek's crew had never faced enemies that could simply appear inside their ships without warning. Human Marines moved through the platform like ghosts, using phase shift technology to walk through bulkheads and appear behind enemy positions. Sergeant Karen White led her squad through the platform's central corridor, her weapon sweeping for targets. The Krek soldiers they encountered seemed terrified by enemies that could materialize from thin air. Control center is 50 meters ahead, she reported. Kreks are setting up defensive positions, requesting permission to use quantum grenades. Permission granted. We're running out of time. The quantum grenades created localized disruptions in space-time, disabling enemy equipment without damaging the ship's critical systems. Within minutes, Karen's squad had secured the platform's control center. Platform 7 is secure, Major, Lee reported. Biological weapons systems have been deactivated. Similar reports came in from assault teams across the battlefield. One by one, the viral platforms fell to human boarding parties who seemed to appear from nowhere and strike with impossible precision. Supreme Admiral Tokvesh watched in growing horror as his most powerful weapons were captured by enemy soldiers who moved like spirits through solid matter. In 20 minutes, humans had accomplished what should have been impossible. All ships concentrate fire on the human fleet, he ordered desperately. Destroy them before they can capture more platforms. The Krek's fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of plasma bolts and torpedo warheads streaked toward the human ships in a display of firepower that could shatter moons. But the human ships were ready. Captain Elena Rodriguez activated her ship's defensive systems just as the Krek's barrage arrived. The UHS Defender became intangible for 30 seconds, allowing the enemy weapons to pass harmlessly through the hull. When the ship returned to normal space, Elena's crew fired a full spread of quantum torpedoes at the Krek's flagship. Each torpedo struck a different system, systematically disabling the massive vessel without destroying it. This is Captain Rodriguez to the Krek's flagship, she broadcast. Your ship is disabled and your weapons platforms are captured. Surrender now or face complete destruction. The space battle raged for 3 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human technology and tactics proved superior to Krek's brute force at every level. When the fighting ended, the entire Krek Second Imperial Fleet had been captured or destroyed. Lieutenant Karen White found herself in temporary command of Platform 7 after her squad captured the ship's control center. She was a sergeant leading a squad of 12 Marines, but now she was responsible for a weapon that could destroy planets. Admiral Carter, this is Sergeant White aboard Platform 7, she reported. We have secured all biological weapons and taken the crew prisoner, requesting orders for disposal of the viral agents. Carter's response was immediate. Sergeant, destroy those weapons completely. Make sure there's nothing left that could ever be used to harm innocent people. Yes, sir. It will be my pleasure. Admiral Tokvesh found himself a prisoner aboard the UHS Devastator, facing the same human commander who had defeated his predecessors. The message from Admiral Tokvesh reached Krek's High Command and triggered the largest military mobilization in Dominion history. Supreme War Leader Vakthul was no longer interested in conquest or expansion. This had become a matter of survival for the Krek's way of life. These humans have humiliated us 3 times, he declared to the Emergency War Council. Every species in the galaxy is watching to see if the Krek's dominion can be defeated by newcomers. If we fail to crush humanity, our empire will collapse as other civilizations rise against us. War Leader Zexkol presented the military options. Supreme Leader, we have one weapon that has never failed us. The Planet Breaker device has destroyed 12 worlds in our conquest campaigns. No species has ever found a defense against it. The cure, Planet Breaker, was the ultimate expression of Krek's military philosophy. It was a massive space station equipped with gravitic weapons that could literally tear a planet apart from the inside out. The device took time to charge and aim, but once activated, nothing could stop it. How long to deploy the Planet Breaker to Villani space? Vakthul asked. 48 hours, Supreme Leader. We will also send the First Imperial Fleet as escort, 300 of our most powerful ships. Do it. End this war permanently. In Villani space, the human fleet was preparing for what Admiral Carter knew would be the final battle. Intelligence reports confirmed that the Kreks were bringing their ultimate weapon, something so powerful that entire civilizations had surrendered rather than face it. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Krek's device, Dr. Helen Ross reported from her analysis station. Whatever this weapon does, it draws power directly from subspace. The energy levels are off our measurement scales. Carter studied the intelligence photos of the Planet Breaker. The device looked like a small moon, covered in weapon emplacements and shield generators. At its center was a massive focusing array that could concentrate gravitational forces. "How does it work?" he asked. "Based on our scans, it creates artificial gravity wells inside a planet's core. The gravitational stress tears the planet apart from within. Once the process starts, nothing can stop it." General Malven contacted the human fleet from his command bunker on Thyros 3. "Admiral Carter, my government is prepared to evacuate the planet if necessary. We will not ask you to sacrifice human lives to defend our world." "General, we didn't come this far to watch. You lose your homeworld. We'll find a way to stop that weapon." But stopping the planet breaker would require tactics that pushed human technology beyond its normal limits. Carter called a meeting of his senior commanders to develop a plan that most of them considered impossible. "The weapon draws power from subspace," he explained to the assembled captains. "Our ships can survive in high radiation environments that other species cannot tolerate. I'm proposing that we take the fight into the corona of the system's star." Captain Steve Johnson studied the tactical display showing the local star. "Admiral, are you suggesting we operate our ships inside a stellar corona? The radiation levels would kill most electronic systems." "Not ours. Human ships are designed with radiation shielding based on our experience with solar flares and cosmic radiation. We can operate in environments where the Krex cannot follow." Commander Rachel Smith of the UHS Phoenix understood what Carter was proposing. "Sir, you want to use the star itself as a weapon?" "Exactly. If we can lure the planet breaker close to the star and then trigger a controlled solar flare, the radiation burst will overload their systems." It was a desperate plan that required perfect timing and incredible courage. One mistake would mean the destruction of the human fleet and the death of billions of Villani civilians. The Krex First Imperial Fleet arrived with the planet breaker at the center of their formation. 300 warships surrounded the ultimate weapon like a protective shell. Supreme Admiral Rakthor commanded the fleet from his flagship, confident that no force in the galaxy could challenge the planet breaker. "Human Commander, this is Supreme Admiral Rakthor," he broadcast as his fleet took position near Thyros 3. "You will witness the power that has destroyed civilizations across the galaxy. Surrender now and we will grant you quick deaths." Admiral Carter's response was defiant. "Admiral, you're about to learn why humanity has survived every challenge we've ever faced. We adapt, we overcome, and we never surrender." The planet breaker began charging its gravitic weapon, drawing massive amounts of energy from subspace. The device would need 6 hours to reach full power, but once activated, nothing could save Thyros 3. Carter activated Operation Solar Storm, the most dangerous plan ever attempted by human forces. The entire fleet would have to operate inside the corona of the system's star, using the stellar radiation as both a weapon and a shield. Captain Brandon Clark of the UHS Valiant led the first wave toward the star. His ship was equipped with the most advanced radiation shielding available, but even human technology had limits. "Clark to all ships," he reported as his vessel entered the star's outer atmosphere. "Radiation levels are extreme but manageable. Hull temperature is rising but within acceptable parameters." The Krex fleet watched in amazement as human ships dove directly into the star's corona, a region of space that should have been instantly fatal to any spacecraft. Their sensors could barely track the human vessels through the stellar interference. Commander Rachel Smith led the critical mission to retrieve materials from the star's core. Her ship would have to go deeper into the stellar corona than any vessel had ever traveled, collecting particles that could trigger a massive solar flare. "Smith to Admiral Carter," she reported as her ship descended into the star's chromosphere. "We're at maximum safe depth, beginning collection of stellar plasma for the quantum resonance device." The quantum resonance device was experimental technology that could amplify stellar activity by millions of times. If it worked, the resulting solar flare would be powerful enough to overload the planet breaker's systems. Meanwhile, the rest of the human fleet engaged the Krex escort ships in the most unusual battle ever fought. Human vessels would dart out of the stellar corona, attack Krex ships, and then retreat back into the star where the enemy could not follow. Captain Lisa Wong led her fighter squadron in hit-and-run attacks from the edge of the corona. Her F-47 Phantoms could tolerate radiation levels that would kill Krex pilots instantly. "Wong to all fighters," she ordered as her squadron prepared for another attack run. "The Krex are trying to surround the star to prevent us from escaping, hit their formation and fall back to the corona before they can respond." The battle raged for 5 hours as the planet breaker continued charging its ultimate weapon. Human ships used the star itself as a base of operations, appearing and disappearing like ghosts made of fire. Captain Brandon Clark received orders for the most dangerous mission of the battle. His ship would make a direct assault on the planet breaker itself, buying time for Rachel Smith to complete her work in the stellar core. "All ships, this is Clark aboard the Valiant," he announced to the fleet. "We're going in. If we don't make it back, tell Earth that we died protecting innocent people." The UHS Valiant emerged from the corona like a ship made of flame, its hull glowing white-hot from stellar radiation. Clark's crew had pushed their ship beyond all safety limits, and they were ready to sacrifice everything to stop the planet breaker. "Clark, to planet breaker," he broadcast as his ship raced toward the massive weapon. "This is for every innocent world you've destroyed." The Valiant struck the planet breaker's shield array at ramming speed, its experimental armor holding against impossible odds. The collision disrupted the weapon's charging sequence and bought precious time for the human plan to work. Commander Rachel Smith completed her mission just as the planet breaker began its final charging sequence. Her ship raced out of the stellar core carrying containers of supercharged plasma that would serve as the trigger for humanity's ultimate gambit. "Smith to Carter," she reported as her ship's hull began to crack from the extreme conditions. "Quantum resonance device is ready for deployment. Recommend all ships clear the area immediately." "Do it, Rachel. End this war." The quantum resonance device detonated in the heart of the star, triggering a solar flare that dwarfed anything in recorded history. A wall of radiation and charged particles erupted from the stellar surface, racing toward the Krex fleet at the speed of light. The planet breaker systems overloaded instantly. The device that had destroyed worlds was torn apart by forces that exceeded its design limits. The Krex escort fleet was caught in the radiation burst and disabled within minutes. Supreme Admiral Rakthor watched his ultimate weapon die in a fire that outshone the star itself. The humans had used the very cosmos as a weapon against him. "This is impossible," he said to his tactical officers. "No species fights wars inside stars. These humans are insane." Admiral Carter's voice came over the communication channels. "Admiral, your planet breaker is destroyed and your fleet is disabled. The war is over. Surrender now and your crews will be treated with dignity." The Krex First Imperial Fleet surrendered without firing another shot. The species that had conquered half the galaxy had been defeated by opponents who fought with the fury of their own star. But the cost had been high. Captain Brandon Clark and his crew had died. 2 weeks after the destruction of the planet breaker, the Krex Dominion officially surrendered. Supreme War Leader Vakthul himself arrived in Villani space aboard a single ship, flying under a flag of truce that would have been unthinkable just months earlier. Admiral Carter received the Krex leader aboard the UHS Devastator with full military honors. Despite everything that had happened, humanity understood the importance of treating defeated enemies with dignity. "Supreme War Leader Vakthul," Carter said as the Krex commander was escorted to the conference room. "I am Admiral Carter of the Terran Defense Network. We have much to discuss." Vakthul was older than Carter had expected, with scars that spoke of battles fought across decades of conquest. The Krex leader looked at the human admiral with something that might have been respect. "Admiral Carter, you have accomplished what no species has ever done. You have defeated the Krex Dominion in open warfare. According to our laws, I am here to surrender unconditionally." Carter shook his head. "Supreme Leader, humanity is not interested in conquering the Krex. We want to end the cycle of violence that has plagued this region of space for centuries." "What do you mean?" "I mean, we're offering you a choice. Join the alliance of civilizations that we're building, or accept exile to the outer rim where you can start over without threatening peaceful species." Vakthul was confused. In Krek's culture, defeated enemies were either executed or enslaved. The concept of being offered a second chance was completely foreign to his experience. Why would you show mercy to your enemies? Because we're not the Kreks. We believe that strong civilizations should protect weak ones, not destroy them. Your people have shown they can be formidable warriors. We'd rather have you as allies than enemies. The negotiations took 3 days. In the end, the Krek's Dominion agreed to withdraw from all conquered territories and submit to oversight by the new alliance. Most importantly, they agreed to share their military technology in exchange for human protection from species that might seek revenge. General Malven signed the Mutual Defense Pact between the Volani Republic and humanity in a ceremony that was broadcast throughout the galaxy. For the first time in galactic history, an alien species was formally allying with the mysterious humans. Today marks the beginning of a new era, Malven declared to the assembled diplomats. No longer will civilizations stand alone against those who would destroy them. The strong will protect the weak, and the weak will support the strong. Dr. Helen Ross established the first joint research facility on Thyros 3, where human and Volani scientists would work together to develop new technologies. The facility would also serve as a training ground for the Alliance military forces. The combination of human innovation and Volani theoretical knowledge could produce advances that neither species could achieve alone, she explained to the press. We're talking about breakthroughs in faster-than-light travel, energy production, and defensive systems. Captain Susan Davis was chosen to command the new Alliance Training Academy, where officers from different species would learn to work together. The Academy's first class included humans, Volani, and even former Krex commanders who had chosen to join the Alliance. The challenge is not just teaching different species to fight together, Susan explained to her staff. It's teaching them to trust each other. That will take time. Lieutenant Danny Garcia, now promoted to commander, led the first mixed squadron of human and Volani pilots. The Volani had excellent reflexes and spatial awareness, while humans could tolerate G-forces that would kill other species. Flying with Volani pilots is like having partners who can see things you miss, Danny reported to Admiral Carter. They notice patterns in enemy formations that human pilots overlook. Combined with our ability to handle extreme maneuvers, we're twice as effective as either species fighting alone. News of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy at faster-than-light speed. Within weeks, representatives from dozens of species were arriving in Volani space, seeking meetings with the Alliance leadership. The Zephyrian Confederation was the first major power to request Alliance membership. They controlled 30-star systems but had been losing territory to aggressive neighbors for years. Ambassador Carter, the Zephyrian representative, said during trade negotiations, "Our government offers complete access to our mining facilities in exchange for protection. Under the Alliance Treaty, we can provide rare elements that your technology requires." Admiral Carter, now also serving as humanity's diplomatic representative, considered the offer carefully. "Ambassador, Alliance membership requires more than just resource sharing. Are your people prepared to defend other Alliance members if they come under attack?" "Admiral, the Zephyrian military has 200 ships. They are yours to command if you will protect our worlds from those who would conquer them." Similar offers came from species across the galaxy, the hegemony of free worlds, the Crystal Collective, and even the isolationist Silicon Republic sent diplomatic missions to discuss Alliance membership. But not everyone was pleased with humanity's new role in galactic politics. The Galactic Council, the traditional center of interstellar government, watched these developments with growing concern. For centuries, they had maintained order through careful balance between competing powers. The sudden emergence of a human-led alliance threatened to upset that balance. Counselor Vex Prime of the Altarian Empire sent a formal message to Admiral Carter, demanding an explanation for humanity's aggressive expansion in galactic affairs. "Admiral Carter, the Galactic Council has maintained peace in this galaxy for over 1,000 years. Your species has existed in space for less than 50 years, yet you presume to reorganize galactic civilization according to your own preferences. This cannot be allowed to continue." Carter's response was diplomatic but firm. "Counselor Vex Prime, Humanity has no interest in challenging the Galactic Council's authority and systems where they maintain effective governance. However, we will not stand by while innocent civilizations are destroyed by those who respect no law but force. You speak of law, yet you destroyed an entire Krex fleet without authorization from any galactic authority. We acted in defense of a civilization that requested our assistance. The Galactic Council had the opportunity to stop Krex aggression for decades, but chose to do nothing. We simply filled a void that your government chose to ignore. The exchange set the tone for humanity's relationship with the established galactic powers. The alliance would work with existing governments where possible, but would not ask permission to protect innocent people. Captain Elena Rodriguez established the first Alliance peacekeeping force, combining human marines with soldiers from member species. The peacekeepers would respond to requests for assistance from civilizations threatened by aggressive neighbors. Our job is not to conquer or control, she told her mixed species unit during their first training exercise. Our job is to give civilizations the chance to solve their own problems without fear of destruction. The peacekeepers' first mission came when the Crimson Raiders, a coalition of pirate fleets, threatened to destroy several mining colonies in the outer spiral. The Raiders had been operating for years without interference from the Galactic Council. Rodriguez, to all units, Elena commanded as her ships approached the Raider fleet. Remember, we're here to protect civilians, not to start a war. Disable their ships and capture their leaders for trial. The peacekeeping mission was successful, but it sent another message to the galaxy. The Alliance would act wherever innocent people were threatened, regardless of whether local authorities approved. Within 6 months of the Krex surrender, the Alliance had grown to include 15 species controlling over 200 star systems. More importantly, aggressive civilizations throughout the galaxy had begun reconsidering their expansion plans. Admiral Carter stood on the observation deck of the new Alliance headquarters station, watching ships from a dozen different species conduct joint training exercises. Human vessels worked alongside Villani cruisers, Zephyrian destroyers, and even converted Krex battleships. Admiral, we're receiving a priority message from Earth, Amy Brooks reported. President Webb wants to speak with you immediately. The secure communication link connected Carter with the White House Situation Room, where President Webb was meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Admiral, congratulations on building the alliance, the president said. But I have to ask, are we ready for what comes next? The Galactic Council is mobilizing a response to our activities. Intelligence suggests they're planning some kind of action to restore their authority. Carter nodded. Madam President, the alliance now controls